Good morning, happy Monday, and welcome back to Writing and Inspiration. Today I'm going to start off with a review. Earlier we saw where do novelists get their ideas. And once a novelist has an idea, something that's going to be exciting for them to spend a lot of time developing, and hopefully for readers, then the time will come for research and reflection. And this is so that the writer can have a solid grasp on the details of the story, because everything is in the details. As Garcia Marquez once said, to create magic, all you need are the right details. And then the last issue, we talked about the need of choosing a structure. That is the architecture, the design of the story. In what order are you going to tell it? And I gave the advice to follow Aristotle's counsel, to pick a novel that you really admire, that is very similar in terms of the pacing of your story, and follow that model. You're not stealing any ideas. You're just borrowing a format, and writers do it all of the time. So you got the structure. You got a great idea. You've done the research. You've done the reflection. Well, now comes a point where really many people start saying it's the beginning of the writing process, which is planning. Or to plan or not to plan? That's the question. A lot of writers don't plan. Hemingway was one that just could sit there, and as long as he knew at the end of a writing day how the story continued, he was fine. There are those that mix it. Isabel Allende, the author of In the House of Spirits, when she's writing a historically based novel, she will do a lot of planning. But when she writes a story that just came to her, then she could sit down and start working on it at once. But I find that most writers are planners. And I think this comes to relieve ourselves from the anxiety of not knowing where we're headed, of just relying entirely on the muses. William Faulkner used to love doing outlines. You had to do outlines. And as a matter of fact, in one of the museums honoring him, in his study on the wall, you could still see the outline of a short story that he did. He wrote it on the wall. J.K. Rowling came up with her own handwritten spreadsheet to work out the 7 Harry Potter books. John Irving, author of The World According to Garp and many other novels, is an assiduous outliner. As a matter of fact, he outlines every detail because he doesn't like surprises as he's writing. So he knows everything that's in there. I'll put myself among the planners. Not as extreme as Irving nor Rowling, but I do have to have a blueprint. I do need to know where the story's going, from the beginning to the very end, before I type even the first word. So how do I go about that? I'm going to use as a case study the novel I'm currently writing, which doesn't have a title. I have an idea. I'm excited about the idea. I've done the research. I've done the reflection. I've chosen to follow the same structure as the Season of Stories, which is 2 parallel stories separated by time that eventually merge. And I'm following that same format because I enjoyed it. In other words, the chapters will alternate in time. So, where does my prep work start? Well, I have a brainstorming journal that I use to start. And in the brainstorming journal, all I do is jot down ideas. And this is my preliminary outline, just the brainstorming process. I'm not committed to anything here. I'm just organizing because if I do it by hand, I find that somehow my head and my heart are working together. So here I am just tossing around ideas for the order of the chapters. And then I will come to a point where I'm comfortable with it and I'm ready to move on to come up with a more definitive outline, actually, the final outline. And for this, I like to move to one of these drawing pads. I love the drawing pads because you could cram a lot of information on one page and not have to be flipping page after page. So here is the story, the journey from 800 years ago. Each of these little columns represents a chapter. And I'm not putting a lot of detail here. I'm just put the incidents that I need to cover in each chapter to the very end, to the epilogue. And then in the present time, on the other side, I have the journey of these characters. Again, each little column here representing a chapter and the incidents that need to be explored in each chapter. What this does is it gives me a lot of peace of mind because I know where I'm going. I won't spend nights awake saying, where is the story going to go from here? Am I going to be able to pull the rabbit out of a hat? But please keep in mind that every writer works differently. I'm just sharing the way that I do it. And hopefully this will help somebody. But find your own way. Have fun finding your rituals. Have fun discovering your own writing process. Now, I am done with the general outline. Am I ready to sit down and start writing? Not quite yet. Now I have to work chapter by chapter and worry about the structure and the internal mechanisms of each chapter. But that's what we're going to talk about next week. If you've enjoyed this, and if it's been helpful, please like, comment, share, leave a question. Something we could explore later. I'll see you next Monday. Hasta la próxima semana.